Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. It's not the winners and losers as you may have been expecting tonight. It's a build-up game for Liverpool versus Ajax in the Champions League tomorrow. I'm your host, Keith. I apologise for the delay. You will see there's only 3 of us on screen at the moment. We are having connection problems with the 4th person. Regular listeners won't be surprised who that is, and we will find out soon enough. Chris, how are you?
Good, thanks, mate. I've got my hands up here, so you can't blame me.
Yeah,
I'm not touching anything.
Good lad. Any new listeners there might know what's going on, but trust we're not.
What's an Napoli preview?
Untoward.
Yeah, what's the Napoli preview? Actually, it's the best part. Don't watch the Napoli game.
Yeah, exactly. Kev, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Not too bad. Missed the football at the weekend, but got to watch loads of other stuff that I wasn't planning on watching.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was good. It was nice. Nice to watch. Get back into watching NFL again last night.
Yeah.
I watched the Red Zone last night. That was quite good.
Yeah, Sunday, the Red Zone on Sundays is great, isn't it? 6-1, boxes you off.
Yeah.
Isn't it mad that like football can't do something like that? Do you know what I mean? I know it wouldn't work because there's no stoppages and all that.
BT do it. BT do it on Champions League night I think it's on channel 413. They have the any action that happens in any of the games, they'll show all the goals on that one channel.
That's good.
I wish it was something that the Football League could do on a Saturday. To drive interest in the Football League games at least. Whatever about the Premier League games, and they want to keep the 3 o'clock kickoff times and all that kind of stuff. But there's definitely something in it. There has to be, because there's cameras at all the games anyway. There's no reason why they can't. There are reporters there as well. And it'd be a great watch, really would.
The Juventus game was good if you didn't say it.
No, I didn't. I seen a bit of it, but that was mental.
They were losing 2-0 Juventus. They got it to 2-2. They score what they think's the winner in the 94th minute. They go berserk over it. There's a VAR review where the guy who heads it's onside, but there's a guy who tries to head it in front of the keeper, misses it.
Yeah, Milik heads it. Benucci tries to interfere.
So then,
offside position.
So Milik celebrates, throws his shirt into the crowd. It's his second yellow, so he's sent off anyway for the goal celebration. Walks down the tunnel.
Doesn't care because he thinks he got the winner.
They do a VAR review. The ref goes offside. All hell goes through. Quadrado gets sent off. The Juventus manager gets sent off, and one of the
Fazio
gets sent off
because
he just busted one of the players because they had to go with him.
Yeah,
finished 2-2.
And did you see the pictures? Did you see the pictures of it today? I don't know if it was genuine, but there was a player keeping him onside by a mile over near the corner taker. So I don't know. Crazy stuff.
Well, you got some people drawing crazy lines on stuff on the internet, so you got to be a bit wary about after the Lord Mayor's show. But yeah, that was a bit nuts. Look forward to getting us back. As bad as the Napoli performance was and all of that, but look forward to seeing the Reds tomorrow night now.
Yeah. Chris Golding asked, lads, did anyone watch Boca versus River play? Sorry for your loss, Keith. Yeah, look, I love the Super Classico. It's one of my favourite games in world football. The fans are just a different breed over there. And when you see, if anyone's seen it, Benedito scores for Boca Juniors, and you just see the stand is rattling. The crowd is like the old cop, they'd all swarm to the front. You just see them all in the bombonera just bleeding, rattling to the front of the stand. It's absolutely brilliant to see. But I would be a River Plate sympathiser in that game, but I do love Boca Juniors as well. That's the beauty I find with it's like with NFL and NBA. I love the NBA as well. You're not emotionally attached to a team. Do you know what I mean? So I find with Liverpool, and we'll add. All right, Dicko.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dicko be getting kicked out again. Say something, Dicko.
Go on again.
Keeping us all in suspense.
But it's going to be worth it.
It better be, because he's interrupted my Boca Juniors talk. Go on.
He said Boca Juniors. He's like, fuck this. That's not what I came here for.
We'll get Dicko back in soon. But Yeah, I was only saying there, you don't get emotionally attached to a team, in the NFL and the NBA. And I know some of the lads, Phil Casey loves the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Dicko himself loves the Bengals. Some of the boys have got a team that they pin their colours to. I just enjoy it without having a team as such. And it's the way I am with the Argentinian football. It's the way I am with the Brazilian league and all that stuff, even the Uruguayan stuff. I just love watching the games without having a root and interest. So wherever I play, I do have a soft spot for. I like Boca, I like Vélez, I like Newell's Old Boys, I like Estudiantes, I like Independiente, I like them all. So, great River play.
Well, me and Kev were like that. We watched what was the French game we watched on the watch along, Kev?
Oh God, yeah, we watched
Lille against.
It was Lille against Marseille.
Lille against Marseille. We didn't care who won. We just watched the game. It was actually quite good. It was a good game to watch in there.
It was a good game to watch. There's a cracker on next Sunday night. I'm going to be doing that in the watch along.
Who was it?
Well, there's two games, and I don't know which one to do. You've got AC Milan against Napoli is on BT, and you've got Lyon against PSG on at the same time. So I don't know. Yeah. Leave it up to if anyone wants to do it. Then
hard life, innit?
Leave it up. Yeah. Wow.
Dicko, tell him what to watch there. Will you say something?
Hey, finally. No camera, then no sound. My God. Got there eventually.
Yeah, it's showbiz,
anyway,
you know what I mean? That's showbiz.
Thanks for joining us, Dicko. We're finishing now.
Yeah.
We haven't got started. You got all the Queen stuff out the way,
No, we were waiting for you. We were waiting for you. Waiting on you to get your take on it. We've just been talking about no football on the weekend and the lads saying, you watch a lot of different stuff and stuff that you may not have watched, other football, other sports. And we were just touched on the NFL and they're saying, I know you're a big Bengals fan. How did you find the start of the NFL, Dicko?
Oh, that was cruel.
Heartbreaking. Absolutely. Nearly 4 hours through the mill yesterday. I mean, it's one thing to have all the disappointments of Liverpool sort of accumulate. And so I kind of thought clean slate, obviously I was due to go to the game on Saturday. That didn't materialise for obvious reasons. And then sit down, watch a bit of NFL. Didn't go red zone, went full, immersed myself in full Bengals Steelers. And at the end there, it was crazy, missing extra points, taking it to overtime, missing field goals. Went through the whole. It was like being a Liverpool fan, really, going through the range of emotions.
Yeah. And coming out the wrong side of it.
And coming out the wrong side of it, which is just in line with what we've all been feeling as Liverpool fans this season. So gonna dust myself down for the Dallas Cowboys next week.
It was a cracking start, wasn't it, to the NFL? A lot of excitement and a lot of games down to the wire. I thought it was a great start. Any of you boys watch it?
I watched the Red Zone last night for the first few hours, and then we did a bit of a watch along last night with Matt. Matt's a mad. He's a Green Bay Packers fan.
He's just mad.
So he was going through the mill with watching them against the Minnesota Vikings. That didn't end well for him. I think he turned to drink by the end of it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, they looked dreadful, didn't they?
They did, didn't they? Yeah.
A lot of people's preseason. I was listening to podcasts in the week leading up, and there were a lot of people's tips for getting to the Super Bowl from the NFC. So that was a really, really awful looking start for them. Whereas, some of the hyped teams in the AFC seem to live up to the bill, and the likes of the Chiefs and the Chargers.
But the Packers started that way last year, didn't they? They got absolutely slaughtered by the Saints, I think it was, on the first day. So,
long season. It's a long season.
Yeah, it's a long season. Twists and turns all the way.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, folks, this is not an NFL podcast, although we could do an NFL.
I thought we were going to get Phil. But in there.
Yeah, Phil will be sick now that we've done 10 minutes of NFL and he wasn't allowed on. Chris, I want to come to you.
Thanks.
Not about the NFL. So Liverpool had no game at the weekend.
It was great. We didn't concede. We didn't lose. Yeah. It's the best post-match me and Kev ever done.
I'd say so. But, the games got called off, and we all know the reason why, the passing of Queen Elizabeth. Games were cancelled, understandably, I'd say. A bit mad that they cancelled all grassroots football. I thought that was a bit weird, that children couldn't go out and play football, but, it is what it is. Did Liverpool need the break, do you think, or I sort of glad that game didn't go ahead?
I think I need the fucking break. I don't know about Liverpool. Yeah, I think Liverpool did need the break because we were an absolute shambles against Napoli. Just no coherence. I mean, Klopp even said in his press conference, the worst performance he's ever seen under Liverpool, which is pretty damning from Klopp because he's normally tries to find a positive in some way, and he just goes, maybe 3 of the 11 were all right. He said the rest, no, it was crap. So I think Liverpool needed that. I think they need a little bit of looking in the mirror, a little bit of a kick up the arse. But I don't know. Maybe this is just me. I'm not into this whole, we'll do better and we'll try better. It's very Man United writing fucking essays when you lose a game. Don't tell me, show me. You know, I don't need to hear we played shit, we could play better. I know that. I don't need, just get on with it and do that. Boggs points out Thiago was probably one of the few positives. Was his 20-minute cameo, did more tackles, more progressive passing, and just more around better play than the rest of the shite combined. The only ones who did anything was Diaz had a decent second half, but I'll just say it was a decent second half, and Elliott showed flashes. Other than that, nothing really. So it's a low bar they're going to build up from. And look, the player Ajax will be confident. You know, they batter everyone in the league like we do. They tonked Rangers 4-0 in probably second gear. So, and Liverpool, I've got to wake up because they're already one game behind. They've already got a really bad goal difference, so they've got to make both up now to get the Champions League on a wriggle. So this is a bit of a must-win, I think.
Kev, how are you confident going into this game on the back of a few days off since Napoli?
As confident as you can be. I mean, we'll pick up what Chris was saying there. They tonk everyone who's in their league. They haven't played anyone. You know, Rangers
5-0 against Heerenveen at the weekend.
Yeah, they're poor side. It's a poor league, and you watch it when you watch the highlights of it. Heerenveen got in at them 3 or 4 times, and bar poor fit. I mean, the Heerenveen striker was 1-on-1 with the keeper 2 or 3 times, and all but for poor finishing. They give you chances, but there's no way in hell they'll play that way against us. They're not that stupid. You know, you're not going to see Daley Blind rocking up as a late runner into the box from left back. It's just not going to happen. You know, but the one thing that they have got up front is pace. And they're very good on the counter. We've seen what Bergwijn could do on the break when he was at Spurs. You know, he's a very good, very quick, lively forward, but he's the best of them. You know, and there's a reason why Tottenham bombed him out. You know, he wasn't good enough for the league. He can show flashes, but he's not good enough for the league. You have to be confident playing these guys. I don't care what kind of form we're in. We're home in the Champions League, and we lost. We got torn apart in our first game. So, and they've had a week off. They've had a week to sit and stew. If they don't put up a performance on the back of what they've been through in the last 6 days, this season's a washover. Forget about it. It's done.
Yeah,
they have to turn up tomorrow night, or just don't bother, because this rebuild that they're in the middle of will stop stone dead in their tracks if they stop trusting each other and they stop believing in what each other is supposed to be doing. That's what happened against Napoli. Klopp talked about Milner being late for a challenge, and everyone else was like, "What the hell's going on?" They were all doing it as individuals. Nobody trusted each other to back each other up, and it showed. Napoli got through us so easy. You know, that can't be allowed to happen. You know, it's not like we're playing a brand new system. We're brand new players and they're bedding people in. It's not like that. We're bedding 1 or 2 in. The system hasn't changed. They know it inside out. They just don't trust it at the minute. They don't trust themselves. And that's got to change.
Dicko, what are you expecting from Liverpool tomorrow? Are you expecting a reaction, or are you worried about what they're going to serve us up? Not what Ajax do, but what Liverpool do. Are you worried, or do you think there's going to be, a reaction from the players and from Klopp?
I think there will be a reaction. I mean, I don't think they'll underestimate Ajax. I think they'll fully understand, and they'll have had the time to plan, and the preparation that will go into tomorrow I think will stand us in good stead. I think in a way these fixtures, the fixture being called off on Saturday, and now we've got clear daylight as well. We know we're not playing on Sunday. So it can be absolutely all focus on this game, absolutely leave everything on the pitch tomorrow. No distractions. It's tunnel vision for this game, and I think that's only going to help us, as opposed to, you know, trying to sandwich it into what was a fairly hectic schedule when, let's face it, there was a lot of, you know, visible fatigue, I think, out there. And I think this can only help the spacing of these games. And then I think it's something like 18 days off, isn't it? So if there's any mental fatigue, I think this should, you know, the way things have panned out should actually help us. And then, you know, you add that to what's, I think, the perfect platform, which is, you know, a European night at home against, despite what we say about the strength comparatively of Ajax right now, they're a well-known name. They're a household name. There's a certain amount of romanticism about playing Ajax, and I think it's, you know, if we can't rise to this kind of occasion and take care of business, then you know, we know it's a must not lose. You know, if we lose tomorrow and the other game goes kind of to form, you know, we're sitting on no points, and we've 2 other teams in the group on 6 points. And I know we've the 2 games to go, then come up, you know, against Rangers still, but you know, you just never know with these with all this Battle of Britain kind of as it'll be built. Let's face it, there's a certain amount of, you know, unknown in those kind of scenarios. So yeah, must not lose, but I've got a certain element of confidence that Klopp will have had the time to really get stuck in mentally and on the training pitch, and that they will come out all guns blazing. And let's hope upon hope that we get off to the fast start and we don't concede the first goal. And that, I think, you know, we get the first goal, I think the crowd will be well and truly into it, and it might just be the platform that we need, you know, because I'm not these 2 league games being called off is no bad thing in my estimation. I think we've touched a bit lucky there, I think, in some respects, because the league was really starting to, you know, I think that gap was in danger of really becoming unassailable to Manchester City.
Indeed. One player getting a lot of stick in the chat is James Milner. 36 years old. 36, is he? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Chris, you know, I don't think there can be too much of a defense of how Milner's being played. There are circumstances, I think there's context to that others are not available. So, you know, Milner has to be in there playing, but he really struggled against Napoli. Are you worried about James Milner in an Ajax, up against an Ajax midfield that will most probably consist of Alvarez at the holding midfield, Kenneth Taylor in the centre alongside Steven Berghaus? It's a good, skillful midfield. It's got a lot of running in it. It's got a lot of energy in it. It's quick. They move the ball fast. It's physical. Can you see Milner playing in this game tomorrow, or do you think Milner has done his stint for the season nearly, and we will see less of him now that players are coming back?
I'll be surprised if Milner plays midfield tomorrow. I don't think he will. Listen, the reason Milner's playing is because Liverpool, we all thought with Liverpool had one in the summer. They didn't. And look, Klopp went with the midfield he's got, and the lads he's gone with can't stay fit. That is the only reason Milner's playing. I generally think the reason Milner was kept on for another year was bring him on for the last 20 minutes to see games out and to play domestic cup games, and then for his off the field information attributes. That's what he was kept for. Milner should not have been starting this many games now, and I don't believe with Klopp that was ever the plan. But that's kind of the situation the club and Klopp have left themselves in, which is really, it's harsh on Milner because he's getting stick, but it's not his fault he keeps getting picked. You know, that's on the management and the recruitment. They left themselves in that position. We all said at the start of the summer, despite this myth that I keep seeing in the chat, I think nearly everyone in the Trippers was saying we'd like a midfielder in the summer, but if we don't get one, then Klopp and the club are going to find a way of working with what they've got. And, you know, they only brought somebody in on deadline day who I haven't seen him play yet, so I don't know if he's any good. So I'll be amazed if Milner starts. I'll be quite concerned if he does, because he shouldn't need to, because Thiago's now had a good 10 days training. Arthur's had a good 10-15 days training, and Fabinho's had a training and a bit of a rest. So there should be no need to start him. And I think this is also a game to rest Elliott.
Yeah, indeed. Kev, are you on the same lines as Chris there? Milner doesn't start. He's run his race, and now it's time for others to step up and take that burden away from him.
Well, Chris is exactly right. I mean, at the end of the day, reliability has been the Achilles heel for the club for the last month and a half, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And it is one of those things. We brought in a midfielder on deadline day who hadn't kicked a ball in anger in 2 months, who hasn't really had a pre-season. He came on for 15 minutes at the end of the Napoli game. And Arthur is a very good player. He's a very technical player. And if this works out, it's going to be a great deal. 32 million plus his contract is already agreed if he wants to stay. So if this works out, this is going to be a really good deal for us. But it's going to be a case of getting him to where we need him to be. That's going to take time. Milner probably won't start tomorrow. If Milner starts tomorrow night, something's gone drastically wrong somewhere else. Be it at fullback or left back maybe. But I don't see how he starts in midfield as long as Thiago and Fabinho are fitting right. But it's not his fault that he's been selected. He's come in, he's done the best of what he can. He doesn't never, James Milner in his career has never crossed that white line not to give a fuck. It's not in his DNA. It's not in any of their DNA to say they don't give a fuck. But the mind and the body not working as one is a different matter. The mind will want to do something and the body's like, you go away. And that's what happens at 36, 37 years of age. You're not 25, 6 anymore. You can't do what you used to be able to do. And he needed help in that position. And Klopp needed to help him in that Napoli game by looking at who you're playing, looking at the form that you're going in with, and looking at the form of the team that you're playing against, and the place where you're going, where you have a shit record. Play the game on its merits, not the way you rock up the games and expect sides to roll over. Can't do that no more. Not away to an informed Napoli side. That's just stupid. And Klopp has to take his fair share of the blame for that. It was naive at best, arrogant at worst. And there's plenty of collective blame to go around for the shit show that happened at Napoli. And James Milner is just one cog in a large shit show. It cannot be allowed to go again this week. They've had a week to sort themselves out all around the house. They've all had the week to sort themselves out. Klopp, Linders, the team, everyone. But it's up to them to put it right. We can only talk as much as we want to talk, but it's up to them when they cross the line tomorrow night to put this right. They have to.
Indeed. Dicko, midfield. We'll stay on midfield. We've got bodies there. We've got numbers. We've got Naby Keita, who's not in the Champions League squad, who's now being called up for Guinea. We've got, which is a bit mad. We'll talk about him in a minute. We've got Curtis Jones isn't back yet. Hendo isn't back yet. And Carvalho possibly back, but I don't really see him as a midfielder. I see him more as an attacker, personally. I can't see many, after the experiment at the Derby, I can't see him playing many midfield games. Who do you see starting the midfield for us tomorrow?
Yeah, I think someone just threw something in the chat there, but although I slightly disagree with it. Arthur Melo, Fabinho, Thiago. I actually think Fabinho, Thiago, that was bonkers LFC, by the way. I think Fabinho, Thiago, and probably Harvey Elliott. I think someone mentioned maybe time to give Harvey Elliott a rest. I think that he may have been due up in terms of rotation. If we would have played on Saturday, we might have seen maybe that midfield on Saturday. But I think with those extra days, I think he will. Let's face it, Harvey Elliott's been probably our brightest spark in what's been a pretty dismal start to the season. He's impressed pretty much every game, and I think he's got better in every game as well. So I think he starts. I think Fabinho, though he's been running streak a little bit the last couple of games, again, hopefully the rest's done him the world of good. And then obviously we've seen the cameo from Thiago when things had already got away from us, but that was some promising signs. He come on and he did all things that you kind of expect, take for granted, miss when he's not there. You know, but you know, I say taking things for granted. I mean, there was Curtis Jones, we just mentioned there, another frustrating sort of, you know, player really at the moment in terms of his availability. I mean, he's on a bench for a game and then he disappears again. Obviously, something's not quite right. He's you know, he's feeling or whatever.
Same injury, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's frustrating because, you know, one step forward, two steps back. And that seems to be a common theme with some of our players. I don't want Carvalho to be rushed. If his injury needs a bit of time, then, you know, I think with that three that I named, you've got Arthur possibly to come on as the first midfield change. Expect to have Milner on the bench. See, Milner's role for me in the squads really should be around, you know, being able to bring on for the last 10, 15 minutes when you've a game to manage, and also to, you know, to provide some starts in the likes of the League Cup and the FA Cup. You know, every player has a role in the squad, and I think that was, you know, by extending Milner on for another year, I think that was supposed to be his primary role, but obviously everything around him kind of disintegrated from a fitness point of view, and he's had to come in and plug the gap on far too many occasions. So yeah, so I think that's the three that I would start anyway. I think that's probably the most likely. I think Thiago coming back in give us a bit of a lift, because we need, you know, and I know we'll move on to it, I'm sure, but you know, the likes of seeing Jota again, you know, starting games, you know, that'll give people a lift as well.
Yeah, that'll be a big one. Getting all these lads back, and you know, the bench will be stronger. Whoever we start tomorrow, we will have hopefully a better bench. But Chris, we see Tsimikas is going to come back in as Robbo is out now, and it's just one thing after another, isn't it? It's just injury. But I think Robertson is one who, look, I've been super critical of Robertson, Trent, Van Dijk, Fabinho, Salah. I think they're mainstays, key players, some of our keyest players that we have, and none of them have been at the races. And people will throw in, oh, Henderson hasn't been. You never criticize Henderson. Henderson hasn't been available, and that's one of the biggest issues there. But the way the senior players have been taking their eye off the ball, and we'll talk about Robbo now because he's out. Do you think it's not the worst time for Robbo to pick up a little knock and get Tsimikas in for a few games?
No, it's almost you can almost say it's a Ferguson injury. As in, he's just picked up a knock, so he can't go with Scotland because he gets run into the ground with Scotland as well. Possibly should be rotated a bit more, but I'll be honest, outside of the Bournemouth game, which is a bit of an anomaly because if you slap a team 9-0, it's just a bit weird anyway. Tsimikas for me not been much better. I felt defensively he's looked sometimes a bit like a competition winner. So Tsimikas and Robbo between them, whenever Eva's played, I've gone like they've been about as bad as each other. Robbo is generally a little bit better defensively, which is probably why he's got the nod. But look, Tsimikas, look, we know he's a decent backup option. He's got good energy on him. He's got a really good ball. He's a different style of crosser to Robbo, which is not a bad thing. I don't think he's as strong defensively, but I think he's solid enough. So it gives some energy. It'll give us something we need, which is probably something a bit different. But like you said, Tsimikas is the least of our worries. It's a lot of the senior lads just aren't performing. And look, I know we have to talk about signings and this and that and the other, but some of it is some senior players just need a bit of a kick up the arse.
Yeah,
you know, us not signing players is not the reason Virgil van Dijk suddenly decides he's just going to stand still and let people shoot, because that's what he's been doing. He's been really lackadaisical. As much as Trent's been poor, I think Virgil's been just as bad, if not worse. Fabinho,
no.
I don't think it's been
worse. Trust me.
Oh, that I've still not forgiven Van Dijk for that United goal where he just stands there and watches the guys shoot. Fucking charge him down. But
even on that, Trent is worse. So
I think
this is the issue.
I think
we're fighting over our star players here about who's been worse, and that's an indictment of Liverpool season so far, isn't it?
Whereas I don't think Fabinho's been great, but I don't think he's had a lot around at the moment. I mean, if we're talking now and say, I think we might go midfield two of Thiago and Fabinho, or we could go, as someone suggested, Thiago, Fabinho, Arthur. is it about our third or fourth or fifth combination now in midfield? We're only like 7 games in. How many more bloody combinations do you need? Do you know what I mean? So that's where it's a bit. And I think I'm obviously me and Kev have to do the post matches, and it's they're a bit hard sometimes. I must be honest when you just start to go in because we say the same thing every time. How have we played? Shite. Who's played well? No one really. And that's how we feel at the moment. So it's a bit hard work at the moment. We're not used to it.
No.
Yeah. See, that's it. It is. It's an absolute.
I mean,
killer.
these are like first world problems. Let's get this clear. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Our team who's normally challenging the top for the title is having a really ropey start. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
We're not talking as bad as that we have experienced Liverpool, but you know, it's just not what we're used to, and it's just a little bit disheartening at times. But
it's the come down, isn't it, from being so used to winning pretty much every week. You know, and we started off by saying the likes of a draw felt like a defeat. Certainly did first game of the season, and it's actually in some games
a draw feels like a godsend at the moment.
Yeah, in some games we would have bit your hand off for a draw, as Davo would say. You know, it's just that drop off. You know, going from challenging on all fronts right the way up until right at the end of the season. You know, well into May. Absolutely bananas, entering May, challenging on all fronts, and we haven't even got out of September. We're not even halfway through September, and we're worried about, who knows, this time in 24 hours we could be worried about our position in the, for getting to the Champions League knockouts. We're worried about where we're at with the league, and the irony of it, we all, moaned about the 2 winning, or not all of us, but plenty of fans moaned about only winning the 2 domestic cups. I mean, who knows if that by Christmas, if that's our only realistic options.
I mean, realistically, probably by the end of September, we're going to be at least probably 9 points off the top, because I expect Arsenal to beat Brentford. You'd expect City to win, so you're already looking at an 8-point gap on City. I
know the game in hand nonsense comes in, and you talk.
But it's Chelsea
win it.
But it's Chelsea away. It's not
Chelsea.
politely.
Exactly.
It's not. We're playing Norwich away. Well, it's a banker. Like when we had the game in hand, it was Leeds when Leeds were terrible. You kind of knew that one was a 90% done. Chelsea away, no matter what form you're in, is a hard game. No,
So the mountain is building. That league mountain is building an awful lot, and it is. We're not too far away from playing City, really, realistically, in the grand scheme of things. It's only a few weeks away.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Kev, we're going into this game now tomorrow night. We're stinking the place out. We all know that. Ajax, on the other hand, are winning all their games. They're banging in goals for fun. They're not conceding any goals.
22 goals scored, 1 goal conceded, and I get the level of competition. But if that
that's still impressive.
If that doesn't give you a swagger coming into tomorrow's game, nothing will.
Yeah, and look, it's confidence. No matter what league you're in, winning breeds confidence. The same way losing and drawing is absolutely draining the confidence out of us. But there's been a big churn of players at Ajax, Kev. Ten Hag goes to Manchester United. He gets replaced by Alfred Schroeder. Is it Alfred Schroeder? Came in from Bruges. A lot of their big players have gone. And they just replaced them. They replaced them with him, but they bring in like the likes of Bergwijn for big money, and it just looks like a great move for them, doesn't it? Like their churn of players is unbelievable there. They just have the next ones are all waiting in the wing. Every time they let them go, they've got someone else waiting to come in.
Well, you look at the likes of with Kudus, they had no problem letting Haller go because they knew he was on the back burner. Berghuis is an established Dutch, he's a right winger, but he can play in midfield as well.
He plays midfield for them. He does play midfield.
He was a right winger, but he's dropped into midfield, kind of like what Bernardo Silva did at City. So he's quick enough and he's good technically with the ball, but you can get at him. Tadic is good. Bergwijn quick. Broobey is one of the ones they brought in for the future. He's tidy enough player. Daily Blind at the back is rock solid. He's a good footballer. And the last goal they conceded was the 14th of August. So you're right. They will be confident and they will look at how we're playing, but they'll also expect us to be better, but that's up to us to show that we're better, But when you look at the way they play, it's the Ajax way. It's 4-3-3. They don't steer from it. And when they do steer from it, they go to a 3-4-3. And it's up to you then to push their wing backs back and force them to play a back five. And from there, you have to dominate the ball. So how we choose to do that, because I think they will go with a back five. I think they'll be delighted to come to Anfield and get a draw. They'll be ecstatic. That would be their hope. They'll hope for a draw. If they can nick a win, great. Their game plan will be don't lose. And the onus is on us to make the game. But we don't have to be crazy about it. You won't win the game in the first 10 minutes, but you can throw it away.
Yeah.
And you can throw any confidence that you think you might have built in that week that we've just had away by throwing away a stupid goal because you're going gung-ho at the start, trying to be all things to everyone when it's not necessary. Remember Klopp's pre-match last week against Napoli, and all he kept talking about was being compact. Being compact. That's all he kept talking about. We were anything but. So there's something has to be addressed, and the reaction that we need to see in the pitch tomorrow night has to be there for everyone. And whether he changes the style of play, whether he changes the system, whether he just turns out and says, look, this is plan A, it's 4-3-3, go and fucking do it right this time. Whatever way he wants to go and do it, but the players have to be the ones to do it. And they're good enough. They are good enough. We know they're good enough. And like I said, when I look at the Ajax side, yeah, they're big fish in a small pond. And we've seen what sides, like when we've played Salzburg in the past, dominant in their league. They give us trouble, but we beat them. We have to be the same with Ajax. They're a good side. They're a quick side, but they can be got at. Julian Timber is a good centre-back, but he's young. He's young. Alvarez, the Mexican centre-half, Edson Alvarez, I think Chelsea were looking at him. United wanted him. 40-something million they wanted to pay for him.
He's a good player.
He's a good player. But again, is he going to play in a back three? Or is he going to step into midfield and play as a six? We'll see tomorrow night. But again, they're good without being brilliant. Yeah. We don't have to be brilliant to beat these. We just have to be competent. We have to be good at what we do, and that will be enough. It will be enough.
Indeed. Anybody who wants to go searching online and looking for Amsterdam Red Nights and things like that, you might get brought to dodgy websites. You have to be careful. So even if you use incognito, it doesn't actually protect your privacy. Does anyone know that? So yeah, no added security with that. So what's the way around that? What's the solution? I think we all know where this one is going, and we all know what the solution is. The solution is IP vanish. VPN makes it easy to stay truly private. And look, I'm a consumer. I'm one of the testimonials on this to say that this is great. It covers up your browsing history if you need to cover up your browsing history. Not that I do, but I'm sure it's there if we need it. But we all know keeps your details private, covers browsing histories, passwords, things like that, because I think we all take it for granted a bit with internet security and things like that, that we think everything is safe, but it's not really. So I'd recommend getting on and looking at an IP vanish, unlimited devices without sacrificing your speed. So like you can put it on your tablets, your phones, computers, your IPTV, television, wherever you want to put it on, you can put it on there. It's easy to use. It's an incredible 70% off their yearly plan for listeners of the LFC Daytrippers with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Can you believe that? So you're essentially getting 9 months for free. So IP Vanish, super easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you're easily protected. You won't even know what's on. It works there in the background. You can't see a thing. So it's got a 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. I mean, what more do you need? What more do you want? with the IP Vanish. I think it's got everything. I think it's all there. But to sign up, you go to ipvanish.com/daytrippers. Claim your 70% savings. That's ipvanish.com/daytrippers, and cover yourself and any Amsterdam related searches you might be doing over the next day or two, just for your own good, for your own protection. Also, while we're on about the Champions League, do you know that the Paramount Plus streaming all the games now exclusively live? You can get on 9 months, heart-stopping, hold your breath, exhilarating football starts in September. Top teams, everyone's there, all the big boys. Liverpool are stinking it out at the moment, but we can turn that around. You can watch every game in the group stage. You can watch everything there up until the final with that, and you just need to sign up to Paramount Plus. I think we said the last time we tried to do this that it was around a tenner a month, €10 a month, or $7 or something around those lines. But it's every game, so why wouldn't you? You know, we're talking about Champions League. If you want to watch it, get on to Paramount Plus with the LFC Daytrippers. So look, I'm not going to do any more of that stuff. I think I've done better this week than I have before. I'm delighted with myself. I'm proud of how I've done that. I didn't get to read them comments there because I was focusing on me craft, on my show business.
It's almost like you remember to do it this week. Some might say.
Yeah, some might say.
Does the Paramount Plus include Europa League for us later?
Don't ask me any questions, Dicko. Move on. No, it's Champions League. So Liverpool will be on it. Liverpool will be on it for a few weeks more than anyway. So look, that's the admin done. That's the admin.
Sign up till November.
One thing, someone was asking the chat earlier on there, what's going on with Curtis Jones? Curtis Jones is a stress fracture injury. Okay, and the thing is with a stress fracture, Gerrard suffered for it for a long time when he was about 2021. And it's to do with his body growing. And when you have a stress fracture, rest is the only thing that will cure it. And you can re-injure yourself very easily just by doing exercise, just by coming back. So him being on the bench, match stretching, anything. It's just one of those things. Calvin Ramsey's very similar. It was found during his medical. So it's just a thing with some players at that age that they will grow out of. So it is what it is. You know, it's not, something out of nothing. It's just the stress fracture and his shin. It's very similar to shin splints. If you've ever had shin splints, it's very similar, but a bit more painful apparently. So, just suck it up.
Yeah. The injuries are part of football. Every squad gets them, every player gets them. It's just when it hits us, it's like we all panic, isn't it? About don't be a midfielder, don't be a midfielder, don't be a midfielder. It's a fucking midfielder again. There was like the centre backs a few years ago, and when you don't want them dropping,
that's because you're overplaying the ones that are still fit.
Yeah, well, that's it. And Dicko, there's something in that, Liverpool. I want to go on to picking the predicted lineups and scores and that for the match tomorrow. But before we do, something that I've a bit of a bee in my bonnet about is being Liverpool's recruitment strategy. Certainly this summer, and the sort of lack of planning around midfield players, because I think Arthur's a very good player. I thought he was really good at Barcelona. He very highly rated by Messi. Messi thought he was the nearest thing to Xavi that he had seen. He was highly rated in Brazil when he was with Grêmio. Didn't work out at Juventus or whatever. And Liverpool have brought him in. I think Chris touched on it earlier, or Kev, one of the boys touched on a nice little boy, a 32 million fee to buy him. But he's got a lot of injuries. So to me, I'm looking at that and I'm like, well, why are we wasting that time with lads with checkered history? Now, you could bring in Jude Bellingham, let's say, in the summer and spend 100 million on Jude Bellingham, and he could get injured in the first training session. That's the nature of football, and we know that. But are you worried if Liverpool went, who's that?
But at least with Bellingham, he's not renowned for picking up injuries, is he?
But neither was Van Dijk. You know what I mean? It can happen to you. You know what I mean? There's no sort of anything can happen. But I'm sort of Julian Ward came into Liverpool. He took over from Michael Edwards, and we bring in Luis Diaz. Great move. In the summer, then we bring in Darwin Núñez. We bring in young Ramsey, and we bring in Carvalho. Carvalho looks like smart business. Ramsey will be a squad player. Time will tell. Would you have spent the money on Darwin Núñez known the state of Liverpool's midfield, or would you have looked to do something in midfield? Because what I want to do here is I want to look at the midfield options that we have, right? So we're going to go through them all. Fabinho has had injury issues. The thing that annoys me the most about him is that when he comes back from an injury, he doesn't come back quick, and he takes a few games to get himself back up to speed, right? So he's our number 6, our only defensive midfield player. His backup is Jordan Henderson. Jordan Henderson, realistically, if we're all being honest, I'm a huge Jordan Henderson fan. Shouldn't be in the starting lineup for Liverpool. He should be taking on the James Milner role nearly of being the senior pro, helping lads out, going in and doing bits here and there, nixers. Thiago is one of the best midfield players in the world. Never available, no use. Curtis Jones, I'm a huge fan again. Great talent, never available. I know Kev touched on it there. Bad injury. The eye injury was a bit freak as well. You can go on and on, right? We go Oxlade-Chamberlain. I'd rip up his contract. I'd pay him off now at this stage because he's not worth that to Liverpool. Naby Keita. What more can we say about Naby Keita? Do you know what I mean? Like, he's like... It just baffles me that we've gone through that list of midfield players and we've decided that we need a forward for 65 million or whatever we paid up front. Would you have done that, or would you have looked elsewhere?
I've done both.
Yeah.
Well, we know they won't do both, and that's the thing. We know they won't do that.
But they were going to buy Tchouaméni. That's been well reported.
Yeah.
So the question is, were they going to do Tchouaméni? 60 million, wasn't it?
Well,
it wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap.
I think it was cheaper than that.
I think they pulled out of the race when the price in Tchouaméni went up, when the interest went up.
But
they were interested in him, but not at that price.
It was pretty close though. It might have been 50, but that's what they were looking at. And I think they would have done both, because if you're replacing Manny as number 9, you're not going to. There's no point doing that on the cheap. And the big things that got people pissed off after the Champions League final, other than losing it, was Ancelotti's comments, which were, we know how Liverpool are going to play because they played the same way for years. So the benefit of a Núñez was, well, he's quite different to any other striker we've got. And he's not an Andy Carroll you lump up, because when you watch how Benfica played, they weren't lumping balls to him. They were using him in behind and using his pace. So I didn't mind signing a number 9 who was a bit different, because I thought it's what you want, because then you've got him, you've got Jota, and you've still got Firmino. So you've got 3 lads who can play number 9, and they all play quite differently. So I was fine with that. But I'd said from day one I wanted 4 in the summer, and we eventually got 4 in. But let's be honest, Arthur wasn't part of the plan, because if he was, we'd have bought him in earlier. And that's the frustration. But Klopp does have to take some of the blame for this, because he did turn around and say, "Oh, I made a mistake." Now, if he's covering for the owners, so be it. He chose to do that, and after 2 contract extensions, he's probably pretty okay with how the transfer policy works. So, but I'd have done too. Now, it doesn't have to be a Jude Bellingham £100 million player. They may have. I'm sure there are other midfielders who could have done a job, or could have at least give us an option that are nowhere near 100 million. It was still decent players. This is my concern. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be 100. It has to be Jude Bellingham or no one. I think that's my concern.
Yeah. Very good, as Aidan says. Great point there. The question was for Dicko. Dicko.
Have to be quick, Dicko.
Anything to add?
That's enough.
Look, I made my peace really with the the whole kind of summer kind of ongoing saga with Bellingham's name being constantly linked. And we kind of made peace with the fact that maybe there was a bit of forward planning there, and there was some kind of gentleman's agreement or agreement principle, whatever it was behind the scenes going on, that assured Klopp and others that deal was going to materialise in another 12 months. When you actually look at the midfield and all those players that you rattled off, yes, there is and there always was some injury concerns around all of them. And if you kind of if you did a kind of an American football style depth chart, there would be enough cover at every particular position. But the reality is we've been hit with all of these injuries at all kind of at the same time. I mean, Curtis Jones, case in point here, he's at a certain stage in his development, in his career, that this would have been an opportune moment for him to come to the forefront, for him to shine, for him to be able to stake a genuine claim to have a position in the squad for the next 5 years. Say, I feel for him in a way. There's a lot of comments coming in that he's not a good enough standard for Liverpool, and that may not be the case. But the shame around him, if he continues on this trajectory with his injury record, is he won't necessarily get to fully prove that one way or the other, and it may just pass him by. So there is a bit of a concern there, because at any time you have a player coming through your academy system, you're saving yourself, the associated transfer fee with having to go out and buy someone for 50 million or whatever, something of that region. So it's a real shame. The Naby Keita thing is just, that's gone to a whole new level now. I mean, we've seen his sporadic availability over the last few years. We were able to achieve things, even with that going on. I think Klopp needed a big season out of him this season, and I think he did. He probably thought with the contract year that it is, sort of thing, that Naby Keita would step up to the plate and he would deliver this season. We've seen bits and bobs of it, but he's let Klopp down badly, and I think is bombing out the whole Champions League squad and probably everything now for the remainder of his time at Liverpool is a massive blow, because he's left a gap there that we've had to go and try and fill in an emergency capacity. And I know probably it was Hendo's injury that tipped us over the edge to actually act, but I do wonder, some of the Klopp's comments around making a mistake was almost indirectly at making a mistake, thinking that he could get a serious contribution in game time out of Naby Keita and maybe some other individuals as well. Maybe he was hoping there'd be a change of look for Oxlade-Chamberlain, but that's just another in a long line and list of injuries that he's had. His body's obviously not up to it. Seen it with Adam Lallana. That's not really changed for Adam Lallana since he's gone to Brighton, so I don't expect that to change for Ox when he moves to his next club. So yeah, I mean, Thiago's injury record very sketchy. Fabinho, sketchy. It is like we've got ourselves in this position now of being really dependent on players that aren't gonna be available for even probably 80-90% of the season. So we've dug ourselves a pretty big hole here by not acting in the transfer market and maybe trying to get through to next season. My concern now is we have such a bad season and things, who knows, I know it's early days for not making top 4 shouts, but let's see how the next few weeks go. I mean, you're not going to attract top players if you're not playing Champions League football next season. So, that's a minimum requirement for us now to not let this.
Isn't that a bit of a myth? Isn't that a bit of a myth, though?
No, not necessarily. No, I don't think so. No, I think to attract Jude Bellingham, I think we probably be needing to be in the chat. I honestly do think because he'll have other options elsewhere. The Tchouameni thing, just so unfortunate, wasn't it? I mean, if the whole sliding doors moment with Mbappe and whatnot, and there is a world where it could have been Tchouameni coming to the European champions Liverpool, and instead he goes to the European champions Real Madrid. It's just an unfortunate sort of series of events in that regard. So, and then on the Núñez piece, I do think there was an element of panic buying associated with that. I really do. I think Mane going, I don't know how much he sort of Klopp makes out. Klopp says he knew how far in advance he knew that he was going. He certainly knew on the night of the Champions League final that was going to be his last game. We've kind of heard him say that in presses and whatnot. But the reaction then to go out and splash that cash and and just whether it's some of it's fan appeasement or whatever. I don't know. I'm not convinced.
Who would you got instead? Who would have been a better fit?
Well, that's the thing.
You'd have had to have got someone.
Exactly, and that's the dilemma they were put in, and I'm sure a shortlist was drawn up, and that became the most target that made the most sense at that moment in time in a fairly short period of being able to debate it and deliberate and sound people out for their availability and stuff like that. So I don't think this whole succession planning has gone as smoothly as maybe we were kind of thinking it was going a few months back, and even the passover from to Julian Ward, it's, I don't know, people very quick to sort of go, oh, we haven't missed a beat, and Michael Edwards out the door, Julian Ward, carrying on the good work. I'm not convinced at the moment. I'm a bit kind of concerned.
I mean, to be fair to Núñez, he's played 3 games. I know that's partly because he headbutted someone, which is his own fucking fault. But I think there's a lot of snap judgments on 3 games. We've seen the opposite. Snap judgments of positivity after 3 games.
It doesn't help Chris as well that he's being compared with a freak show in Haaland. You know what I mean?
But that's not his fault. That's just something he has to do.
I know.
To do with the Manny thing for me. I reckon Klopp probably knew about that last January. I don't think Núñez is a panic buy. Now we can argue he's the right buy, but I think that's who the manager wanted, and he's got who he wanted. Now, is he using to the best of his abilities? I think that could be open for debate. But after 3 games, I'm likely to give the lad a bit more of leeway. It doesn't help for Núñez that everyone around is pretty poor at the moment.
Well, see, that's the thing.
That's a hard thing for a new signing, because I think if Jota not got injured, Jota would have started a lot more, and then Núñez would have been broken in gently, like he did for the Fulham impact, when he makes an instant impact, scores a goal, and goes, "Oh, great, that's what we want." But that's probably what we wanted to do with him, I think.
I agree with that, and I think I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not digging out signing Darwin Núñez. I think Darwin Núñez is going to be a very good player for us. But Kev, my point was leading to the Jude Bellingham question, right? And the talk of Jude Bellingham next summer, and let's pick a figure out at the Sky and say 100 million, right, for Jude Bellingham, because he's not going to come cheap, right? So 80 to 100 million, I'd say, will be what you're looking to pay for this kid. Where are we getting 80 to 100 million from? Because I don't know who we're selling to raise this money, and we know they have a model, right, a plan to do this, right? So assuming that FSG are not going to bend too much from them, because I think they do. I think it gets made out too much that they don't. If the player comes available and Klopp wants him, we've seen it with Thiago, we've seen it with Diaz, that they will act when they have to act. But let's say 100 million for Jude Bellingham. And Jude Bellingham is brilliant, by the way. I watch him an awful lot. Laura Duffy hit the nail on the head there earlier on when she said, yeah, as a player, he's brilliant, but his leadership for a player at that age is just off the charts. He is brilliant. Yeah. But if you're looking at a midfield rebuild, would you spend 100 million on Jude Bellingham, or would you spread that 100 million and get 2, possibly 3 players for the midfield? Do you think one player is enough, is what I'm getting to?
No, it's not. We're going to get 3 players. But the 3 players you're going to get, you won't like 2 of them. Bellingham will be the ultimate target. Tyler Morton, who's out on loan this season, will come back and take Oxlade-Chamberlain's minutes.
All 10 of them.
Listen,
sorry.
You've got 9 centre mids. What you're doing, you're not looking for 9 superstars. You're looking for people to play minutes. That's what you're looking for. You're going to have 5 senior centre midfielders. Bellingham will be one of the 5. Then your other 4 are to give those guys a break. Play the cup games. Play the last 20 minutes. Come in and cover an injured player here, there, and everywhere. You're not going to have 9 superstars. We're not going to go out and spend 50, 60 million on 3 centre midfielders each next summer when we don't have to. I think we'll put all our eggs into one basket. Whether that's Jude Bellingham basket or not, I don't know. I think they were right to do the Darwin Núñez signing this summer. I think they gambled on the midfield this summer because who they want, they can't get. And that's the other side of a triangle in a transfer. You have to have a player that's willing to come. You have to have a club that's willing to pay the money, and you have to have a selling club willing to sell. If those three things don't line up when you want them to, then it sucks to be you. Because Dortmund weren't in a selling mood. They didn't have to sell, and they won't want to lose him after the summer that they've just gone through. So that's that triangle out the window. Couldn't get him. Barella is never leaving Italy. As much as a brilliant player I think he is, he's never leaving Italy. Why the hell would he? He's a star at a club that love him, and they're a huge club, and they will win titles in Italy. So why the hell would he? You know, I have no idea about Lamar stories or this story. Well, I've seen loads of stories flying around.
Lamar is one getting a lot of heat, and the thing with that is, you know, he'd be free, and Liverpool don't seem to do this, and that's the thing. But you know, maybe they could look at doing a deal for Conrad Laimer.
This is what I mean,
on a free and someone else, and that could be the way to get around that. But
they need 3 players. You don't necessarily go out and need to pay 3 transfer fees.
Yeah,
I'm convinced that Tyler Morton is out on loan for next summer to blood him into the squad, to replace the minutes that you would expect to get out of an Oxlade-Chamberlain, which is about 1,300 minutes in a season, is what you're looking to get out of a player like Tyler Morton. So if you have an FA Cup run, if you have a League Cup run, if you have 20 minutes at the end of a game and you need to bring someone on to take someone off, those kind of minutes, they all add up. Taki was one of those players that gave you those minutes. Origi was one of those players that gave you those minutes. I'd rather try someone like Tyler Morton than go out and spend 30 million quid on someone who's not going to be any better. Because we've seen what 20, 30 million tends to buy you when you're an English Premier League club looking to shop in Europe. It doesn't buy you much anymore. You know, they see the Premier League tax is a real tax these days, you know, and I don't think there are too many bargains to be had now. You know, they see Premier League coming, and it's no accident that the Premier League this summer spent 2 billion in transfer fees, as opposed to the whole of the other 5 leagues combined not even reaching that. You know, it's obscene. And I think the Arthur Melo deal, if we decide to keep him, is going to be a great addition from 27. Get him fit and get him right and get him playing. He's ideal to play as a cover with Thiago if you want to rest Thiago. If you can get 25 games out of Thiago, bear in mind, he's got to be a year older as well. You know, in the following season, you can get 20 games out of Arthur Melo in the same position. That's the left side of midfield boxed off for a while. Then you're looking at Harvey Elliott on one side. You're looking Bellingham with Fabinho and Henderson as your 3 6s and maybe an 8 cover. It's not as bad as it seems, but the gamble will we'll know the results of the gamble when we see the end of the business next summer.
Indeed.
And if they couldn't, like I said, if all the eggs are in that basket and they couldn't get him this window, they had to keep their powder. Where you ask where the money is coming from, they don't need to. They don't need to sell anyone.
I mean, that's the way you know, the myth is sort of that they only sell, or they buy players when they sell, and who are they going to sell? I agree. I think the money is there. They just
having a neutral window this summer, being able to sell well is suddenly a crime now if you're a Liverpool fan. Yeah. Being able to sell players for good money, doubling your money in some cases is not a good thing now.
But the only way you'll break that myth is when the event, if they actually do it. Yeah. If they do have Jude Bellingham for 100 million. And fuck all goes out the door. You're sort of going, well, there it is. But until they do it, it's all he said, she said. It's all assumptions.
They have done it. I mean, people talk about Darwin Núñez as if it was chump change. I think it was the 2nd or 3rd highest transfer fee paid for a player this summer. You know, it wasn't cheap. You know,
and the other thing is the 3 you're talking about coming in. This is assuming we're going to stick with 4-3-3, and the local, I think when things are working, admittedly, it's only worked about twice this fucking season. We do seem to be trying to play more of a 2, and the 3rd midfielder being a real, almost like a 10, really bombing on. So I don't know if that's an evolution as we may end up just going to a midfield 2. If that's the case, then you probably don't need 3 midfielders in. You probably need 2 and another wide forward.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Emmett. Can I just say that Emmett was talking there? Fabrizio Romano was talking about that the interest for Larmer came late. I read that coming from his point from Larmer earlier when the window closed, that it's not something that he's going to up sticks and move his family to a new country at the very end of a transfer window. You know, it's a deal for some players like that you have to do early and give him time to get his family over to settle. Plus, he comes free next summer, and the ultimate dream for any German player or any player playing in the Bundesliga is Bayern. You know, and he might be holding out and Bayern did this religiously for years. You know, they'll snap players up on frees left, right, and centre. The other thing as well, there's something on Twitter flying around. There was an interview with Thomas Delaney. He's at Seville now, talking about Jude Bellingham and where would he go and who would be interested in him. And Liverpool obviously mentioned Real Madrid will be interested. Man City to a point, he said, and Man United fell away. But the interesting one to watch is going to be Real Madrid, because it's the day after the transfer window closed. What's his name? Vinicius Jr. got a Spanish passport. And because he's now an EU registered player, they freed up a space in their squad for a non-EU player, which would be an English player. No, but it does free up. I don't think it'll be either. I don't think they need him.
I don't think Jude Bellingham would go there. I don't know Jude Bellingham, obviously, but I think. I'm sure he's watching. I'm pretty sure that Jude Bellingham wants to go to Liverpool, and you know, nearly Liverpool only. It might change if I absolutely stinking this season, but I think Bellingham has done a few years abroad and will come back to the Premier League. That's my take on it. I'm not overly worried about Real Madrid, to be honest, and all this. I know that sounds stupid. I don't know.
I'd be more worried about Manchester United.
I think, there's always got to be a worry that someone else is going to increase their kind of interest in it. Like a year is a long time. A lot of things can happen both on his side and also from other clubs in terms of watching him closely. We've also obviously got a World Cup coming into the mix as well. And I know he might not necessarily be one of the first names on Gareth Southgate's team sheet, but strange things happen in World Cups. You know, injuries happen, or you know, you have a poor performance in your first game, and then all of a sudden, you know, Jude Bellingham could be thrust into the spotlight and have an unexpectedly fantastic World Cup. And then I think if he gets launched into another stratosphere, then you really are under serious pressure and competition, and it will really put, I think, a real test on the owners to stump up the cash. You know what I mean?
Because my only concern with Jude Bellingham is we as Liverpool fans got very excited about Sancho. Sancho really wants Liverpool. Sancho really likes Liverpool. Effort about Liverpool. He's played for Man United because Man United stumped up the big money, which we did.
So, and the wages. Remember, I mean, you know, we've got the wages aspect. We've always got to bear in mind. There'll be, you know, I know the Salah gets the big contract and whatever, but they won't suddenly want to. You know, it's one thing to get your proven star up to a certain level and be able to sort of position that back to other players in the squad. That, you know, if you do things, you win things. You know, you're the kind of the role model that everyone looks up to around the squad. You know, there's a certain level of ease of selling that story back to the rest of the squad. You know, I'm not convinced we're going to start stumping up, you know, 400 grand a week for a 20-year-old. You know,
I mean, I'll be something. I think wherever he goes, he'll get a decent wage wherever he goes. To be honest, so
it does, and it comes down to his own personal ambitions and where he wants to be playing football. And you know, that's part of the makeup in our DNA now, that we always end up with players who probably have got other options out there, possibly could wait it out at wherever they are and maybe get a bigger move or whatever. But we get the players to come in and we get them hungry and wanting to play, and the wage is almost kind of a secondary. Do you know what I mean? As Chris has mentioned, they're paid plenty enough to be able to get up in the morning.
This is the reason I'm skeptical on Bellingham. Not Bellingham the player. There's a lot of other players talking about Bellingham's the done deal, and I'm a bit like, we'll see. because there's a couple of done deals that we've apparently had, and
still waiting on them to be done.
Chris Golding in the chat there is an interesting name.
Not Gavi. Gavi will not be going anywhere.
He hasn't signed anything at Barcelona yet.
Yeah,
and they can sign him now.
But
he still hasn't signed, and he's available on a free next season.
But also, it's not true that Barcelona owes money. Just to spell that myth, Liverpool sold the Coutinho contract to a third party a while ago and got money for it because they weren't convinced to get the money off Barcelona. So Barcelona owe money, but they do owe money. They owe it to a third party.
Gavi's been about to sign that new contract for the last 4 months.
Yeah, I just think there's no way they let him out. Yeah, they'll throw huge dough at him. There's no way he's getting out of the door there. Not a chance that he is getting out of that door. And he's constantly linked to Liverpool, and it never makes any sense to me because, you know, you can look at transfers and you can say, well, I can see the like Jude Bellingham, I can see the reasoning behind that. And I think there is interest in both parties. The likes of Gavi to me just looks like newspaper talk to drive up the negotiation for Barcelona. There's no way they're letting that kid out there, and I don't think he jumps either at this stage of his development. But look, that's just me, lads. Before we finish,
he's getting serious minutes, and let's face it, the tide seems to have turned on the. You can say what you want about the management of the club and blah blah blah, but the tide seems to have certainly turned with results, and you know they're going to be contenders in the Champions League. They're going to potentially win La Liga or push Real Madrid very close. So that's there's no. It's not like 12 months ago or 18 months ago where you know they were pulling in like Martin Brathwaite and think everything seemed to be going to shit there. It's not. They are absolutely back in the challenge
on the pitch.
On the pitch. I think off the pitch, that financial crash they're going to hit, they've just kicked the can down the road. I think that's coming back again soon.
Possibly. Anyway, tomorrow night, quick one answer question. A question, just give me one word answer. Minute silence. Observed or not observed? Chris?
Observed.
Kev?
Absolutely observed.
Dicko?
Observed.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think 1 or 2 gobshites won't observe it. And I think people will react and it'll sound like a bleeding, it's not being observed, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. Don't get me wrong, I think Liverpool fans have the right to build the national anthem and they have the right to do this and do that, but everyone's expecting them to slip up, aren't they, on the national anthem, on the minute silence, and I just hope that they don't, you know what I mean? Just because it's just feeding into the narrative for everyone else. But, Chris, give me your predicted lineup for tomorrow and your score. And your scorers, please.
Ali in goal. Gomez, Matip, Van Dijk, Tsimikas. Fabinho, Thiago. Salah, Bobby, Diaz, Nunes.
Just for Kev. Oh, well, no, sorry, your score and your...
2-1 Liverpool, Salah, Diaz. And they'll probably score first because why change the habit?
Yeah, a lifetime, yeah, true. Kev.
Yeah, I think Alisson, Trent, Matip, Virgil, Tsimikas, Fabinho, Thiago, Bobby in the 10, Salah on the right, Diaz on the left, and Jota through the middle.
Score prediction, please.
2-0.
Jota
and Bobby.
Dicko.
Adrian in goal.
Why not? Mix it up.
Funny though, Kelleher. I didn't see Kelleher in the training videos today. So,
Alisson, Van Dijk, Matip, poor old Joe Gomez. I wouldn't just give him a bit of time away after what we've seen last week.
What more than Trent?
Well, yeah. I think so. Yeah, as a one game sort of sticking out like a sore thumb. That was just.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest,
he had a nightmare, and he was hooked as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, but Trent had a nightmare for about 5 days.
Trent's badly out of form, so we've got to hope he plays himself out of that. So Trent, and then the 3 in midfield we discussed before. Fabinho, Elliott, Thiago, and then the front three. I think it's time to maybe let Núñez start, then Mo and Diaz. Although I'm happy to see Jota starting tomorrow either way. You know what I mean? I don't, just back on Darwin Núñez quickly. He did himself no favors by getting that red card, did he? That's been his biggest mistake really to date. I remember thinking on that night, not just about the game at hand at that point. It was, oh my God, the games he's going to miss now as a result of this. You know what I mean? And his start in a Liverpool shirt was just going to be so disrupted. But prediction, I'm going to go with the old Desmond 2-2.
Give us scorers there, players. Dicko goes for Desmond all the time.
14-1. Can't beat it.
Kev, got help us post match, Kev. If it's 2-2.
I'm gonna go with Núñez and Diaz as the goal scorers for us, and I have no idea who scores for them.
Trent and Van Dijk for them.
Yeah.
Tadic possibly get one, and who's the other lad who plays for them? Mohammed
Kudus.
Yeah.
Fair play for giving me the Ajax scorers and all. I wasn't expecting that.
Very good.
I like it. Yeah, I like it.
That's a true pro, that.
Yeah. My prediction, Darwin Núñez gets a hat-trick. That's all I'm predicting. No line up our scores or anything else. Darwin Núñez hat-trick.
That's Keith Cofer. He thinks we're losing 4-3.
No.
But Núñez gets a hat-trick.
No, I think I'm confident that we turn things around, and I'm confident that it will start tomorrow. But I'm always confident. I was confident last week. It didn't work out. We'll finish up there, lads. Just a brief one for anyone that's been following our charity stuff that we've been doing over the last while. We've done we're doing Bobby's Wish to Walk at the moment. We've done Sienna Steps. We've done the Failicon as well. And at the very start, we done one for a young lad, Keane. Keane Strong was the hashtag, and unfortunately Keane passed away. Very sad, we heard. I think it was late last week maybe, and it was a battle too far for the young lad, and we heard that unfortunately he passed away. So our thoughts are with his family and any friends of the family, because people knew him, and very sad and a somber way to finish the show. But we just wanted to let people know, do you know what I mean, that unfortunately young Keane has passed away. So lads, look, we'll leave it at that. And not really much more. Look, Chris, thanks for coming on tonight.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having us.
Kev, thanks for being on tonight.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Dicko, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and look, if you don't want to think about the Queen during the silence tomorrow, then maybe think about poor Keane.
There you go. Couldn't have said it better myself. This has been the Daytrippers, and we'll see us all again soon.